Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom in which we speak with small cap executives right after important news and developments. With us today, I'm happy to have Bernard Tourillon. Again, he's chairman and CEO of HPQ Silicon Resources, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol HPQ. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, the company is planning on becoming a vertically integrated producer of solar-grade silicon metal. That sounds like a lot, but more than just lip service, the company is developing a disruptive, one-step, high-purity and solar-grade silicon metal manufacturing process in tandem with Pyrogenesis Canada, whose technology is already proven with the U.S. Department of Defense, DARPA, and other major conglomerates. So they've got a great partner here. Today, what we're here to talk about is the press release. I'm going to read the headline, so pardon my read. Final Gen 1 purity enhancement test identifies pathways to producing solar-grade silicon metal with the Gen 2. Here to talk about is Bernard. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, George.
All right, so this is your shortest press release that you've had, especially since I've been with you, but probably the most important. You've gotten the results back now from the first 96 metallurgical tests. How important are the final findings for this end of stage 1 here?
Massive. There's no other way to say it. They're really massive. And fundamentally, what we discovered, what we're able to prove with hard data, is that by simply increasing the yield that we will get, which is a normal thing, we will attain a grade that is solar grade. You know, that's basically it. It's borderline solar grade, and there's a few other things to do, but nobody does what we're doing in one step. Nobody.
Now, you've got a very interesting quote here. I'm going to read this. Our goal is straightforward. We seek to produce a solar grade silicon metal that can be used to manufacture solar cells. So I want to talk about that. As efficient as the one produced by Elkem Solar of Norway. I want to talk about that first.
Okay.
Where did that come from? This is the first time we've heard of Elkem Solar of Norway. And is that related to the company where the shares for services debt were issued and you put out a press release about recently?
No, it's not Elkem, that company.
Okay.
But what you have to understand is there is two ways to make solar grade silicon metal. All right. One of them is called the metallurgical. Right? It's called upgraded metallurgic grade material, and the other one is the chemical route. All right, the most expensive one, everything else. Or the market. So the market right now is something like 99.5%, 99.5% the chemical route, and 5% the upgraded metallurgical route.
Or 0.05%.
0.05%. Right. It is the holy grail that everybody has been looking at since the solar business moved. All right. The problem is, just to get to where we are, you need multiple steps to reach that goal. All right. The 3 N's we've done and the almost 5 N we know we can do just by moving the Yale. That, in a traditional process, requires multiple steps that are very expensive. What Elkem Solar did is they produced a material that was 4N+. Now they got the usual people in the industry said, oh no, that type of material, you can never make solar cells out of it. So how they resolved the issue is they partnered with somebody that's in the solar business. And then they started to produce solar cells, because fundamentally a solar grade material is a material you can take and produce a very high efficiency solar cell. The problem is, it's not really a problem, the opportunity for us is that transforming quartz to that material is the most capital intensive part of the business. It's the most expensive part of the business. Once you produce the material, and go from that material to make the solar cell, that's the cheapest part of the business, but that's the biggest increase of the business. So if we go just selling solar grade material, it's a $5 billion a year business. We go one step further down the vertical integration, it's a $35 billion a year business.
And that's why you talk about solar cells in your quote.
Because at one point, purity is sort of irrelevant. The only reason why we're doing this, okay, is that you need 5 grams of silicon metal to make 1 watt of energy. All right? That's the key. Purity is irrelevant. People that buy the end product don't care about purity. They want the solar cell to do at least 20% above efficiency.
Right.
That's what they care about. That the end buyer is. So if I have to, if I have to go and argue with a buyer, says, is he going to be able to make my solar? If I go all the way to making the solar cell, just like Alchem did, that's easy. Because then,
now, devil's advocate, isn't that almost a much more capital intensive business just as compared to selling solar grade silicon metal?
No, it's not. That's the funniest part. It is not.
Okay, good, because listen, I had to play devil's advocate because
silicon
metal is one thing to a cell producer, but making the cells yourself, I thought maybe requires a whole other capital investment on your end.
It requires one, but it's ridiculously cheap. If you compare to the saving we're talking about just to produce 10,000 tons of solar grade silicon metal using the chemical process, you have a capex investment of $1 billion. So these guys are not going to think about the $20 million they need to make it all the way solar cell. They're focused on that $1 billion investment. In our case, we're talking about $38 million, $40 million US for a 10,000 ton plant. We add a few more $1 million to it. We're still like winning everybody, and we go all the way to the end. It means we sell it to the end product. We're in the $35 billion market. Remember, everybody takes a cut of profit around the line, right? That's where we're going into, and that's fundamentally Silicor. Everybody that wants to enter the business has to make solar grade cells with the material for people to say, "Oh my God, this is really good material." So it's a game of chess that we're playing, and we're playing 2-3 steps ahead of what we're saying, because that's the way it works. But those tests were really required, because now we know that what we're doing is unique, okay? And as we move into validating the scalability and the strength of the process, it moves forward. Remember, this press release was just about, fundamentally the last press release. This is a parenthesis that was open in February of last year when we did an interview. It's now closed, right?
Right.
And I said a very bold statement. He said, if we reach this plane, it will be great. Well, what we fundamentally seen is we're on the right track to reach that goal.
And let me ask you, so you're right. When we first started this, you had goals, and here we are at the end. So in a short answer, how happy are you with the result after this phase 1 has been done, the 96 metallurgical test? Did it meet your expectations, exceed your expectations? How happy are you and even PyroGenesis as your technology provider there with what you've achieved just under the Gen 1?
Okay, we are ecstatic, all right? There's always an optimist, which is my job, and there's a few pessimists and realistic that gives you a timeline, okay? I don't share with all of you all the different timelines and everything else, but we know that we've exceeded every wildest imagination, okay? I'll give you an idea. Silicor, I think they bragged that they had to do 5,000 tests before they got their process down. We've done 94 tests, okay? 94 tests. We know the process works. Now, if you go back and read the presentation we talked about, we're already beating the traditional silicon metal, metallurgical silicon metal manufacturer. We're already beating them, okay? So for now, we'll keep working at it, and I have no doubt that the people at PyroGenesis will reach that goal. We'll get there.
What are you looking to accomplish now with Gen 2? This is just to set up the final parameters for the pilot plant, because with Gen 2, you're able to do so much more. What does the Gen 2 will add to the ecstatic results you've already received from the Gen 1?
Well, it's massive. Okay, first of all, we did the Gen 1 with the most limited capacity. I'll give you an idea. In Gen 1 testing, okay, if our test lasted 5 hours, was considered a long test. All right, with Gen 2, it probably lasts 3 times, 4 times, 24 hours a day testing type of capacity, right? Just think about any metallurgic plant, right? The startup phase of a smelter is the most inefficient phase of its process. You agree with me?
Sure. Startup phase of anything is the most inefficient time.
Exactly. Well, fundamentally, those 94 tests were 94 startup tests. Okay? So we were able to attain those objectives during the worst type of testing possible. Okay? So now we're moving over to Gen 2. Gen 2 is starting to, as we've announced, it's started to do the work. It's working forward. Now we're going to go through the learning curve of how to operate a semi-continuous feeding system and getting operating everything else. And once that learning curve is done, then we will move back on taking everything we've learned from the 96 tests and applying them with that. All right? And the results, we believe, are going to be fantastic. And we believe that those are the type of...
How long is the Gen 2 phase?
Well, Gen 2 phase is really almost never going to stop because it's going to keep working in parallel to the pilot plant.
Okay. All right. So let me rephrase it. How long does Gen 2 on its own until you get to the pilot plant ballpark?
I'm not in a position yet to say. There's still a few issues or discussion that we're having and everything else. It's for me, but for me, it sort of becomes irrelevant in the sense that the Gen 2 is now working. Okay. The hardest part for a salesman like me, okay, is when you basically have to sell, no news is good news type of thing. Now we're back working. We're back doing tests. Now I can go out and talk about what we're doing.
Right.
I can bring people to the plant that signed massive NDAs and show them, hey, there you go. There you're seeing material being tapped out. Right. So that's the normal process. We're building something that hasn't been done. I've had discussion with people in the solar industry, and what they're basically saying, we're inventing a carbothermic process of the second generation. That's how big this is. Right? The first generation was built in the 1800s.
Do you find it sometimes almost hard to believe when you hear yourself saying it, considering where HPQ was a year and a half ago, and sometimes you ever find yourself saying this is almost too good to be true, but listen, the numbers are there, the data confirms it, and Pyrogenesis is your technology provider that isn't going to lie about this. So, do you find yourself almost wondering, holy moly, this is we're getting here fast?
Yes. Yes and no. All right. That fear went away when we did the first test and it started to work. And one of my directors completely joked when we did the first test and the machine didn't blow up. That was a great milestone to be reached. And everything else. I think what happens in any technology-driven experience, the first results are easy to get. So everybody gets very excited. Then you get into a lull, okay, where, oh my God, it's not working. It has nothing to do with it's not working. We're working in the background. And then we're back to, okay, this is really getting to be exciting for multiple reasons why it's exciting. Not just because we're going to be looking at getting higher purities or things. Now we're starting to move on different pathways. Okay, my vision for the company is simple and straightforward: quartz to solar cell. That's it.
Last question. Gen 2. One of the things that testing from Gen 2 wants to accomplish, and I'm reading here, is to produce samples for downstream product testing. Who would that be for? Would that be for other solar cell manufacturers and builders? Or if you're going to go into the solar cell building business, who do you send those downstream products to for testing?
Well, it's going to be a mix and match, but what it is there's a series of laboratories that are accredited in the world where you send the material and they basically tell you what's the electrical conductivity. So eventually, as we move along in our process, we'll talk less and less about purity and much more about electrical conductivity of the material, because fundamentally that's what we're doing. We're building a material that transforms sun energy into electricity. And that's what people tend to forget. When they think of lithium, okay, when everybody thinks about a battery, everybody thinks about lithium. And it's that equation was made quickly in the mind. But when people think about solar panel, okay, when people think about solar panel, They don't think about silicon metal. So that's one of my educational job, to make people think, you know, if you think you want the world to have solar panel, this is where we come in.
Bernard, hold on. What do you mean this is where we come in?
Well, we come in for two ways. We have an educational thing. We have to make the market realize that if everybody wants solar panel in their thing, we're going to be the supplier of choice with our process. Why? Because the barriers to entries to build new plants are massive. The environmental ones are massive. Our process eliminates those issues. Okay. So over time, as we educate the market to what we are doing, and as we keep achieving milestones like we just did, we will become the supplier of choice. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. All right. It's going to require that we keep doing what we're doing, keep following the same methodological process. It will require that we partner ourselves, okay, with the right people to show a message that we are on the right track to transform quartz all the way to solar cell. And our solar cell are going to be high efficient. They're not going to be 16, 17% efficiency. We're talking 21, 22% type of efficiencies. All right.
Do you think you're already achieving that education in the marketplace, because the marketplace is actually seeing your press releases?
No, I think I'm going to be very honest. I think our penetration is very, very small of the messages. And I think there's a lot more room. Fundamentally, the question is always the same one where you're developing the technology, all right? At what stage will you get more and more credibility of your process? Now, at Gen 1 phase, it's still a lab scale type of work. Gen 2 is a bigger lab scale type of phase. Pilot plant will be it. So it's designed to be there, all right? Nothing worse than, you know, when people start expecting that in 3 days from now, I'll be building a solar cell in the solar panel. That's not what we are. But we are in the process. But people have to realize in 18 months, we've done something that has not been done. All right. We're doing higher purity stuff than Temenko ever did.
And with a better technology partner at the end of the day, as opposed to just winging it on your own.
Well, you know, everybody's been winging it, the UMG, for many years. There's only one that succeeded. It's Alchem Solar of Norway. And they only succeeded when they partnered up with REC Solar of Singapore. And what they do is they basically make the 4N plus material, and then they ship it to Singapore to make the solar cell. So
this is where I'm going to end it. The big question mark, and I'm not going to ask you because you may not know who it is, or you do and you can't tell us because you got this smile on your face. But I guess the big question is going to be, who is that partner going to be? And we'll end it there because we've got a lot to talk about, but I want to focus on just what this, you know, Gen 1 96 metallurgical tests being completed means to the company. And, you know, your words were ecstatic. And I think that's the word of the day. And looking forward to having you back on when we talk about Gen 2 results. How long do you think, quick answer, how long until you and I are back on here talk about the first set of Gen 2 results? Ballpark.
If you go and read my press release, I've learned from experience. Okay, those are R&D tests. Okay, I don't know, and the reason why I don't know is very simple. Okay, it's that, as I said in the press release, the first thing they got to do, which is different from Gen 1 to Gen 2, is they have to operate in a semi-continuous batch process, repeat it to make it work. Okay, then we got to start tapping. Right. Trust me, everybody's on my case of when we're going to do the first tapping, a first video of material coming out. I understand that. But I'm not going to put a timeline. It'll just, you know, when we reach it, we'll announce it. And then once we've reached those two goals, as I said in the press release, then we're going to start moving back towards, you know, purity and everything else.
All right.
You know, but that, you know, that I don't control, you know, in the sense that, you know,
but it sounds like we're going to be sitting here in the summer of 2018 waiting for it. I mean, we're talking about a couple of months, sometime in the next couple of months.
You're trying to make me put timeline, which I don't. First of all, guys, this is an R&D project. You can't
tapping into the mindset of people at home. So
I know, but like, listen. I'm sorry, guys, but if I give you a timeline and I miss it by 1 day because something happened, I'm going to go again being crucified. So simple this time. It says, no, I'm not going to give you guys timeline. Sorry.
Got it. Hey, you can't blame me for trying. And
No, it's all right. I understand, but you understand how I'm going to put it
for everyone
down.
at home, the one thing about HPQ is, you've been moving things along at a very good pace. So I guess if all of us have this kind of mental HPQ clock, it doesn't take much to figure out probably when we'll be back talking here. But in the meantime, Bernard, congratulations to you, the company, your board, your team, and everyone at Pyrogenesis on what you're able to accomplish with the Gen 1. I mean, that's fantastic. And as a shareholder myself, who's going to be here for quite a while because I believe in this, congratulations, and on to the Gen 2.
Yes, thank you.
You've been watching Bernard Tourillon. He's chairman and CEO of HPQ Silicon Resources. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange on the stock symbol HPQ. You can find him online at hpqsiliconresources.com or get to Agoracom as an investor, probably the best place for you to go. Look up HPQ's hub, their profile. It's all neatly summarized there, especially for everyone who's new to the story. And all the interviews between Bernard and I are right there, so you can go back and watch a few of those and get up to speed and educated. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Bernard. Have a great day. See you next time.
See you next time.